Greetings, I'm Pillar Nexus, the Ancient Gladiator, with a new project I'm calling Character Creation, where I feature various role-playing games and go over the system and ultimately how to make characters in those games. So you can see right here, we're starting with Anima Beyond Fantasy, the role-playing game. It was published in the US by Fantasy Flight Games. Comes from Edge Entertainment, and it dates back quite a bit to like 2005, possibly even 2001. Yeah, it's been a long project. This book is the campaign setting, Gaia Beyond the Dreams, Volume 1. If there's a Volume 2, I have no clue where it is. But in this game, your characters will include a number of stats and capabilities and such. So the system in this game uses D10s. If you are making an ability check, it is a D100. So let's say the green is the 10s. So there's a 46. Plus your skill value. Let's say it was a jump skill. So whatever my value in that was gets added. Then it has to be greater than or equal to the difficulty. Difficulties in this game for skills are as follows. Routine is 20. Easy is 40. Moderate difficulty is 80. Difficult is 120. Very difficult is 140. Absurd is 180. Almost impossible is 240. Impossible is 280. Inhuman is 320. And Zen is 440. You need to be like very advanced to pull this off. Rolling a 1, 2, or 3 is a fumble. You roll on the fumble chart with a modification based on how bad you screwed up. The alternative check in this game is the characteristic check, where you're trying to roll under your characteristic. Unless your characteristic is really high, that's probably a failure. There's also the possibility for open rolls. So if you roll, say you roll a 90 or higher, you get a second roll to add on to it. But in order to get the open roll again, you would need to roll one higher. And then you could keep on rolling. Otherwise, you'll just add up what you've rolled so far. But that's the basic general system. Actual characteristics. So you'll have agility, constitution. Let's go over this one at a time here. Agility, which is your movement and your balance, and it's also contributes to your reaction speed and is your basis for movement. Constitution, which is your stamina and ultimately your ability to take damage and fatigue. Dexterity, which is part of your coordination and part of your reaction speed. Strength, which is your muscle. Your muscle and your constitution together form your size in general. Intelligence, which is reason and memory and critical to spell capacity. Perception, which is your senses and instinct, always the important thing to have as an adventurer. Power, which is your mind and spirit and your capacity for the supernatural and your just general presence. And willpower, mental strength, which is critical to psychic powers. So there are a number of methods. The first is to roll d8. Reroll all 1 to 3. Roll 8 d10s. Rerolling all 1, 2, and 3 results. So those go away. And then your lowest result becomes a 9, guaranteeing that you'll have at least one exceptional capability. And then you'll get to arrange them as you see fit. So, a fairly capable character with those stats. Alternatively, you roll 8 sets of 2d10, and then for each set you'll take the highest. A lot lower odds of rolling low, but they're still there. There's roll a d10 and assign it in characteristic order. So agility 6, constitution 1, dexterity 3, strength 3, yikes, intelligence. What the hell is this character? Wow. Method 4. Roll 7d10 and divide the total of it as you see fit. So there's 10, 20, 34 to divide between the 8 stats. Method 5 comes courtesy of the Game Master's Toolkit, which comes with the very nice screen, which is you receive 55 points. 45 for more average people, or 65 for legendary adventurers. However, to turn a 9 into a 10, you have to give up 2 points instead of 1. With characteristics comes modifiers to certain things. So a characteristic of 1 is a minus 30. In general, if you want to have no advantage or disadvantage, you want a characteristic of 5. But you probably want to be better than that. Because, in this game, it is a very, very brutal in terms of combat and all that. Actual development beyond your stats. So you'll generate your characteristics. You'll have a race. Generally you'll be human unless you go with a Nephilim, which are just a critical part of the history of this place, Gaia. You have a class. There's like 20 classes, I think. There's 6 archetypes and classes that fit under 1 or 2 of them. Domain, Fighter, Mystic, Prowler, Psychic, and Novel. And then there'll be classes based on that, like Warrior or Mentalist, or Warrior Mentalist, or other. There's the kind of average, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just going to do something, character that is the freelancer. But anyway, so once you have the actual order, one class, you'll get creation points for advantages and disadvantages. You'll get to spend your development points. You start with 600 development points to spend on primary abilities and secondary abilities. Yeah. Secondary abilities are mainly under these skills. athletics, vigor, perception, intellectual, social, subterfuge, creative, and what is special. But you are limited spending them a certain way. Depending on your class, your ability to actually spend them is going to be limited. So a given skill will either be a 1, a type 1, 2, or a 3. And the lower the number, the more it's in line with the class you have. So you don't have to spend as many points. So if you'd spend 60 development points on a 1, you get all 60. If you spend 60 on a 2, you get 30 in that skill. And if you spend 60 on a 3, you only get 20. Yeah. And if it's an ability you don't immediately know, you have to spend enough development points for a base of 5. Put 5 in there. You can never put more than half into a given primary type, into attack, block, or dodge. The difference between your base attack and base defense cannot be greater than 50, and no more than half into any projection ability. But then after that, you'll get your innate class bonuses, your natural bonuses. If you ever can get a skill to 200, that is mastery level. Only certain skills can ever reach the 200 mark. But as you gain levels, you gain more development points. So it's entirely possible over a long enough campaign, if the campaign doesn't kill you. Life points are based on your constitution. Times 10 plus the base of 20. Your class bonus, and then the applied modifier for the constitution characteristic. If you have a constitution of 1, you have 5 life points, period. Yeah. And then every level up, you'll get life points based on your constitution and 11 points based on class. And there's other things like initiative, presence, resistances. Most of your resistances are going to be based on your constitution. Magic and psychic are dependent on power and willpower, respectively. And then finally, there's creation points to spend on your advantages and disadvantages. Oh, yeah. An important thing to figure out is your before going out on the adventure in the first place is your initiative. So 20 plus your modifier for dexterity and agility, and then it's modified by your equipment. And yeah. Yeah, I think once you figure out all that's left to do is actually figure out your actual character themselves. What are they like? It's possible to change class, but you have to do it 2 levels in advance. And depending on whether it's the same archetype, shares an archetype, or is a completely different one, requires that much in development points. Other things the game features are combat modules and martial arts. The game uses copper, silver, gold money system, except that 10 copper is a silver, but 100 silver is 1 gold. There's key dominion through martial knowledge, magic, which requires the gift. Magic accumulate, and then it hinges on magic accumulation and Xeon. and you could also get into summoning as well. There's also psychic powers, and then there's spoiler stuff that I'm not sure if I can really talk about. But if you're a game master, you probably know about it. And the game's probably been out long enough that it's probably most people who care about the game already know about it. Anyway, Elon, and Gnosis. Just things that you you are quietly accumulating without realizing it sometimes. There's supernatural craziness. This. Why do I like this game when I haven't even played it? Yeah, this seems to be one of the running curses throughout my RPG collection. Is I have not played any of them. Not a single one I've ever owned. I've ever run. But there's just something about this, the art style and the lore of the game that's just kind of intriguing. But yeah, I'm not sure how well available this game is much anymore. It's been out of print for quite a long while. Not sure how popular it was, but hey, it got 3 card games that were compatible to combine together. It had a miniatures game. That's what I love to find is miniatures for the Anima Tactics, and it had this role playing game. So it was not quite a bit. Well, I think it had a video game too that didn't quite stick landing, but that's something else. But yeah, if you're interested in a dark fantasy adventure in a clearly problematic world, that's at least there's some shining light at the end of the tunnel of hope in that world. There's Anima Beyond Fantasy. If you can find a copy, check it out, and get people interested in playing it. Then that's the best. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.